What's up, guys? This is Stiffly. Today, we're gonna talk about how lifting makes you more flexible. So it's a question that got posed to me on Instagram, and I'm gonna talk about it today. So, whenever I was growing up, I was very, very unflexible. I had very, very stiff ankles and hamstrings, glutes, lower back, and it caused a ton of issues. Then I got into lifting weights, and over time that has improved my flexibility tremendously. So I'm gonna talk about how that went forth took place. So for a lot of people, whenever they're not flexible, they're stiff. A lot of it is because those muscles and connecting tissues such as tendons and ligaments are not used to moving through that full range of motion. A lot of us are constantly sitting down all day. That develops very tight muscles. They get used to being in that position. We're not moving, of course, like our ancestors were. And because of that, we tend to have very tight muscles. So, how can we fix that? Well, in lifting weights, of course, we are wanting to put our muscles and connective tissue under stress. But it's not just stretch when it comes to flexibility, but it's stress at specific points. So what do I mean by that? At the very long position of your muscle. So for curls, that could be something at the bottom of a range of motion where your biceps are the most stretched. And then you're pulling that weight back up from a very compromised bottom position. That's why it's important, of course, to use a full range of motion to get those flexibility benefits. For a RDL, a Romanian deadlift, that could be all the way at the bottom of the movement where your hamstrings and glutes are stretched and loaded to their absolute max. I know personally, RDLs is what allowed me to eventually get to where I could touch my toes comfortably. And then if I wanted to do it off of a deficit to where I could really work on my flexibility, I probably could do that too. But the whole concept here is allowing the weight itself to stretch you. So, because most of us, we don't just want to be flexible. Flexibility means you can, touch your toes easily and everything else, but you can't do anything once you're down there, so forget yourself back up. We want to be mobile. So what that means is that we can move through a full range of motion under load. There's a big difference between those two things. So whenever you're lifting weights, that is going to allow the weight, or more importantly, gravity, to stretch those muscles rather than you trying to force the stretch yourself. And because of that, our muscles are going to be much better off. We're going to be less likely to get injured because we're used to using our muscles in an extreme range of motion. Of course, this is something that you have to work at over time. You can't just come in and not being able to, touch your toes and all of a sudden try to do, RDL deficits, at 6 inches. That would not work, obviously. You're just gonna end up hurting yourself. So this is something that has to be developed over time. It definitely takes, honestly, years, in my opinion. I'm sure if you really focused on it, you could really improve it in a couple months. But for me personally, not really focusing on this kind of stuff, just focusing on lifting weights, getting stronger. I developed this over many years. I was definitely someone that whose upper back was weak compared to the shoulders, so I had a very rounded posture. And then through years and years of a lot of pull-ups, a lot of chin-ups, a lot of rows, my upper back developed a lot more strength, and it stretched my chest and shoulders to where I have much better posture now, and I can move through a much better range of motion in my pulling and my pressing exercises. So it's really important, though, to gain this flexibility, that you do use a full range of motion. Of course, I'm not saying there's no use of partial reps or cheat reps in training. I know I definitely do it for my rows, but for the express purpose of getting more flexibility, not being so stiff, I do think that a full range of motion is key to move our muscles through the most possible range of motion they can have, even if that might mean sacrificing how much weight that we can lift. I do think it's going to be good for muscle growth, and I think it's going to be great for allowing our joints to move through its fullest range of motion possible. Obviously, once you get to a certain level of muscularity, it does limit your flexibility. You'll see guys that have a super developed shoulders and chest that, like, on overhead press, they can't get their arms any further down than that. But I think it's the extreme end of things. I think most people, through lifting weights with full range of motion, especially in their legs, they are going to develop a lot more flexibility. I know if you are sink down into the bottom of a squat, super deep, and you stay there for a while, your quads are gonna get more flexible. They are. You're gonna get much more comfortable. Your lower back's gonna get more flexible. Your glutes are gonna get more flexible. So I do think that's something that's really important. You might not get those same benefits if you were just going to, a parallel height squat, just getting your hip below your knees. So really getting as deep as you possibly can into those kind of exercises, really almost exaggerating your range of motion is going to give you the most bang for your buck on flexibility. But I definitely think this stuff that is something that's going to take a lot of months, maybe years, to get really good at. And of course, everyone starts from their own spot. Some people are just naturally super flexible, and they probably will not gain as much from something like this. Where someone that's extremely stiff, doesn't have really any flexibility, I think will benefit a ton from doing this kind of stuff rather than just doing conventional static stretches. I definitely think if you are someone that's going to start a workout, do not do static stretches. I find, and I think there have been numerous studies on this, that static stretches kind of decrease the amount of power that your muscles can contract with. Dynamic stretches, just to get warmed up and loose, I definitely think is going to be much more beneficial for you. And then after you're done exercising, if you want to do static stretches, I do think there is a place for that. But it really just depends on how much time you want to spend in the gym. But I definitely think this should be the main part of your plan to get more flexible, is to load your muscles to a full range of motion. It's going to make you more flexible, and in those super stretched positions, it's going to make you stronger and therefore hopefully less likely to get injured. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe for more content, and have a great rest of your day.